Hi, children. Afternoon.
I'm studying.
Don't give it away. Don't give it away. Well, oh, that's right. You were eavesdropping. Nah.
You put two like drafting paper.
It's
What if there's another wrapping? I told you it was
Two books.
I told you it was
Book of Five Rings. And The Art of Strategy.
also known as The Art of War. Michael, I gave you those books today because on your 13th birthday, you're not exactly a little boy anymore. You're far from being a man, but you're heading that way. You know, I was thinking of Churchill, who was a British Prime Minister during World War II. He was speaking on a very different subject, but it's very appropriate for today. This is not the end. This is not the beginning of the end, but it is the end of the beginning. A lot of things are going to start happening. The next couple of years, your world's going to be very, very different. I'm going to miss the little Michael that I used to know, but I'm looking forward to seeing the man that you're becoming. And a big part of who you are becoming, this school, these coaches, the education you're getting, but you are lifted up on the shoulders of giants, okay? And I'm not talking about Mr. Mezger or Miss Drew, but I'm talking about your mom and dad. They are your pillars. They're highly educated people, super smart. There's not an adult in this room that doesn't think they are not just the most wonderful people. And I include. I guess I'm an adult. There you go. You know, you come from a very, very interesting background. The way and the sayings, those names, they go back to before Christ. You know, about 400 BC. They helped build the Grand Canal of China. Later on, much later on, some of your ancestors were scholars in imperial courts of China. That's pretty cool. But all of that comes to you through your parents. And I just want you to stop and think about what wonderful people you are. They could put half the effort into doing what they're doing to raise you, and they would still be wonderful parents. And I just want you to think about that, okay? Another thing I was thinking about, your dad. Out here training, busting his knuckles, busting his backside. And there's a lot of people that do that here. But not all of them started doing that at 7 years old, 11 years old, however old. Some of us, we just didn't get to do that when we were kids. But to get here later in life, and get out here when you haven't been a marathon runner or you haven't been a wrestler, you're just some guy that your dad made you hit the books and forget about all that other stuff, that takes a lot of gumption. But not only does it earn him martial skill, it also earns him the respect of all these people in here. Because that is tough to step on these mats when you have never done anything like this before. But, you know, if you were Jewish, this would be your bar mitzvah. And you would be responsible, spiritually responsible as an adult. And again, that kind of ties into the big changes that are coming up in your life, the changes that are coming now. I hear the change in your voice. But, so it's not just celebration, it's reflection. And when we were doing all of when we were leading up to all of this, you know, your mom said she wanted me to talk about something motivational. Mr. Mezger is going to be speaking here in a little while, so I'll sidestep the warrior thing. He's going to kind of overshadow me on that one. But just like the randomness of life, I was searching the internet, and you were on my mind, but I wasn't looking for something for your birthday, and I'll be dadgum if I did not find the perfect quote for this occasion, okay? Because everything's going to be different. So I ran across this thing on the internet. I was looking at the agricultural revolution, and it's a small segment of a larger series called Crash Course on World History. Look it up on YouTube. But in the very first episode, the first 30 seconds, I start watching this, and I just loved it. The speaker is named John Green. He's an author and a scholar. He started speaking about what the series is going to be about, and they cut to a version of him as a younger kid. And the younger kid goes, Mr. Green, is this going to be on the test? And the John Green of the present responded thusly. Yeah, about the test. The test will measure whether you are informed, engaged, and a productive citizen of the world. It will take place in schools, bars, hospitals, dorm rooms, and places of worship. You will be tested on first dates and job interviews while watching football and while scrolling through your Twitter feed. The test will judge your ability to think about things other than celebrity marriages, whether you are easily persuaded by empty political rhetoric, and whether you are able to place your life and your community in a broader context. The test will last your entire life, and it will be comprised of the millions of decisions that, when taken together, make your life yours. And everything is on the test. I know, right? So pay attention. Come on. Come here. There you go.
Thank you.
Come on, Mr. Mezger.
I will preface this by saying you'll find very few people who love to hear themselves speak as much as me, but I will spare you a huge, long deal here. This is not about how clever I can be with cute sayings and what. It's actually about celebrating Michael here. He's an amazing young man. I'm sure I'm probably preaching to the choir, to everybody here that knows him and has been around him. I can speak from a couple different angles, but I will speak as his martial arts instructor. First is that Michael's one of these guys that is super intense. He loves a lot about, he understands it pays to be a winner. And he understands that you have to work hard to get it. You don't have to worry about Michael about that. I have never really had to encourage Michael to be a hard worker. We rarely hear it out of my voice going, hey, Michael, cut it out, pay attention. Because he's almost always paying attention. And he's almost always putting out 100% effort. Because he wants to be the champion. And I see a lot of myself in that. I tell you all the time, I sit there, I go, I did it because, like my brothers were all like, my entire family, my brothers are all part of like Mensa, but I'm not. My mom would be like, this is my son, John, and my son, Ken, and my son, Marshall. No, National Honorable Society. And this is Guy, he's our athletic. And the thing about it is that, so I always had this kind of desire to be really, really good at it because that's all I had. That's what I felt like all I had. Michael, on the other hand, doesn't have that. He is phenomenally good at so many things. It's crazy. He's a phenomenal student. He's a musician. But he's also, as a martial arts instructor, what we look for in this is that we look for the guys that are also the instructors. We look at the guys who can pull it out, the guys who are going to be the leaders and part of the team. Because the mistake that people make in martial arts and any combat sport is that they think any combat sport that you're in is an individual sport. Okay? You're an individual who has to perform the sport. But in order to be good at this, you got to have an incredible team. My success as an athlete came because I had incredible coaches and incredible training partners and stuff like that. And so in order to have that success, if I want to have good training partners, guess what I have to be? A good training partner, right? I have to be willing to do the same stuff that these guys are willing to do for me. And that's the kind of guy Michael is. He's out there, he's the type of guy who doesn't really, you don't hear him talking very much and stuff because he doesn't have to. he leads from action. People get it. And that is, as a martial arts instructor, that's gold. And that's the message you want to get across to your students. Whether they're successful as martial art athletes, that's really secondary. Because, that's going to be a short amount of time. You're going to have that short window as a martial art athlete. I tell you all the time, it's like, I had a 17-year-long professional career, which is a long time as a professional fighter. But I'm going to probably live close to 100, give or take. So it's probably going to be about 17 years of my life. It's not that much, right? So there has to be something else in it. And Michael's that type of guy. I see the way he carries himself. He carries himself as a martial artist, even at a young age. He doesn't do martial arts. He is martial arts. He's not the water faucet that turns on when he's here, and then when he leaves, it turns off. That's what most people do when they do martial arts. They do martial arts. They may be ferocious. They may have when they're in the gym, they may be ferocious. But the moment they leave, it turns off, and they're no longer that thing. Someone who is a martial artist turns that water faucet on. It might only be a drip, because that's all they know is that little bit, but it never shuts off. Michael's that way. That's what I want all our students to have, to be honest. If I could get anything across to you guys, that's what I want to get across. Being a martial artist is not a summertime thing, it's an all over thing. Michael is definitely that. I never have to worry about Michael beating up on the little kids. I never have to worry about him doing something like that. I basically know that if I was to walk out of the room and there would be something, Michael would take over, working with the little kids, making sure things were going right, and that's the other thing that we appreciate. Martial artists need to be physically ferocious, but they need to be unbelievably compassionate too. And Michael's a lot like that. I was asked to give talk about what it is to be a warrior, and the problem with that is that although her name is feelings here is that term is so used so wrong. I remember one time I was watching golf. Tiger Woods recovering from a torn ACL. They were talking about what an amazing warrior he was. I almost kicked the TV in and threw up because Tiger Woods is an amazing golfer. He has skills that I would only dream to have one day, but he is not a warrior. Not anywhere close to the sense of being a warrior. I mean, if he was being attacked by ninjas as he's going to the 18th hole, I believe he's a warrior. All right, especially you got to go, man, you know what? Tiger Woods fought off 6 ninjas with an ACL tear. He's a warrior. But until he does that, he's just a golfer. All right, he may be an amazing golfer, but he's still a golfer. Warriors, guys, everybody wants to be a warrior. Very few people are willing to do what it takes. Think about our language we use. Football players. It's offense and defense. They're on the attack. They hit. They do this, right? Football players wish they were warriors. They play at being warriors. They even put on armor and do stuff. And I'm not discrediting what incredible athletes they are. They're amazing athletes. 99% of them aren't warriors. Every sport that we play that's a free physical sport emulates the language of the warrior. Offensive, defense, attack, striking, all this other stuff. It's not really done. It's not really what they're doing. But it is a mentality that they want to assume. And not all warriors, to be honest, have to be fighters either. Like my mother is an amazing warrior. How can she hurt fly in her life? She's an amazing warrior. She raised 4 boys all by herself, no help. And I didn't make it easy on her. And she's an amazing warrior. So I don't know where I actually got this. Somebody sent this to me. It's actually you can get on YouTube. It's an amazing thing you guys should all look up. At least watch it once a week, if not every day. And I transcribed it, it's a pretty good idea what a warrior is. Now I'm going to kill it a couple times because paraphrase this thing, but I'm gonna give it a shot. Okay. What is a warrior? A warrior is a way of life, a way of thinking, a way of being. Carlos Castaneda says we choose only once to be warriors or ordinary. We choose only once. Because in choosing to become a warrior alters our fundamental approach to life. While others view everything as either a blessing or a curse, you will only see challenges. A warrior lives to overcome challenges. Every warrior has a code, an ethos, an invisible thread that connects him to all his other warriors, brothers, and sisters since the beginning of time. Stephen Pressfield asks, how do you find your true calling, your soul companion, your destiny? He answers, in this task, our mightiest ally is the warrior's genius. The warrior never hopes, but he must have faith. Hope is powerless, useless. The longer we sit in hope, the more time we waste, because the universe only gives what is sought, what is believed. But yet a warrior must have faith. Sometimes not every path is clear. Not every enemy is a fiery dragon. When the forest is dark, the warrior holds his ground with faith that if he remembers the warrior code, the light to illuminate the darkness will come. The warrior, for the warrior, the body is as important as the mind, because the two are inseparable. Daniela Oletti writes, a person who knows that a wild wolf under their skin has less reason to be intimidated by reality. Even when the power of the mind is in doubt, the body provides tangible proof. The warrior is not an ascetic. He does not deny himself the pleasures of conquest simply for the sake of denying them. He realizes that in denying oneself, it's easy to think of himself as doing great things, but in reality, he's just focusing on himself. Neither is a warrior attached to these pleasures. He can walk away from it at any time, but sometimes he does, just to prove it to himself. A warrior is a natural leader, and he leads under one principle only: follow me. When Alexander the Great, you guys know who that is? When Alexander the Great was threatening mutiny after years of brutal campaigning in India, he stripped down naked so his men could see his scars. Bring forth a man who has bled more than me, and we will go home. No one came forward, because it was Alexander, riding his horse Bucephalus, with his double-plumed helmet, who led every charge. Instead, his men erupted in cheers and pounded their shields. A warrior is a believer. As Paulo Coelho says, he believes in miracles, and miracles change. Because he's certain that he'll find love, love appears. A warrior is highly tuned to the sense of danger, but he does not fear. He does not fear because he knows that he will laugh, he will love, and he will fight all eternity in this world or some other. If he errs, if he wanders, if he indulges in self-pity, if he complains, he doesn't despair. He knows that he is human, and he remembers the choice that he made. He picks his sword back up off the ground and resumes the path of a warrior. A warrior fights for one reason alone: love. Love of life, love of what is good, love of family, love of tribe, love of the infinite soul in the quest of impeccability. He lets love swell in his heart, clutching every cell in his being until he cannot help but proclaim, like Cyril de Nerziac, I am a storm, I am a flame, I need to fight whole armies alone. I have 10 hearts, I have 100 arms, I feel too strong to fight with mere mortals. Bring me giants. That's about the best definition of a male warrior I've ever seen. And I made you a copy of it, like this, and I want you to have it. I want you to post it up where you can see it. Because it's not about being the toughest guy always. It's not about being, most skilled fighter or anything like that. It's about how you look at life and how you take it on. That's the warrior. I know you're also a big fan of Navy SEALs. I wore my shirt. I just got back from Coronado. I was working with SEAL Team 5, and I got them a call when they did stuff, and they're sending me some SEAL Team shirts for me. So, I'm SEAL as soon as it gets here. I'm supposed to get here today, but I'll get it by next day or so.
wash your hands before you go get any food, but there is some food and drinks over there. No food is allowed on these mats. You can sit anywhere around these mats to eat, but do not bring any plates on these mats.
Leave it on concrete.